My name is Margaret. I have had 3 life-threatening surgeries. And the moment the doctor says, prepare her for the surgery, there are just 2 things. You're either coming out alive or you're going. And I have survived 2 brain tumor surgeries. I also had a recent surgery that the doctors found it to be a bit life-threatening, where I had to have a surgery on my thyroid. And also by the grace of God, I was able to come out successfully. I have lived to tell my story. I want to inspire somebody out there that it is not over until God says so. There was this particular day, I woke up, I could not see. When I was sleeping, I was right, okay, there was nothing wrong with my system. But I woke up at around 3 to 4 a.m. because I wanted to go to the washroom. And when I opened my eyes, I could not see. So I had to wake up my husband to help me go to the washroom. When I came back to the bed, now I'm shocked. What is happening to me? Am I losing my sight? Everything was black. I could not comprehend where I am and what's going on. And so just waking up that morning and realizing I'm unable to see and do the natural common things that you don't think twice about doing, for me, that was a very low moment for me. Things happen in people's lives and everybody has a story. But now things were happening to me fast and thick because we got married. We were unable to have a child. Going to the doctor, he's saying I have a tumor. And looking at the tumor, he's calling it macro. Of course, there are 2 types of tumors. We have macro and micro. Macro means the tumor is big. And so the only thing he thinks is he has to give me drugs to try and shrink the tumor. I don't have a stable job per se in the episodes thereabout. So for me, that was pressure, and a lot of pressure, so to speak. That is pressure within, because now you don't have a child, you don't know what is happening to your body. Pressure from outside, the society, you meet people, they're like, you got married, where's the baby, and just pressure to know that even this job that I have, I'm not so sure when they hear this is the kind of the condition I have, I'll still be an employee. Let me take you back a little bit on the day I got married and how the scenario was. I got married on 3rd of December 2005. Before I got married, I had really looked for a job and the job was not coming by. And so I just went and approached my parents and I told them, I think it's time, I need to settle down. My dad was a bit skeptical because he really wanted me to get married when I have a job, but I told him all was well. And so I got his blessings and we were able to wed. So when we wedded, we settled down like just any other marriage. Year 1 was a bit of honeymoon as usual. No hurry for babies. So when year 2 came, year 3, year 4, the babies are not coming. And my body was behaving funny. Sometimes I would get milk in my breast and I was not pregnant. Sometimes I would get crazy headaches. Sometimes I would feel so tired. Sometimes when I wake up, I would feel like half my head, how you feel like the other half feels like there's nothing. It's like it's empty. But I think they are just the pressure surges that were happening because of the scenarios in the head. I wasn't aware. But I also didn't sleep. I never used to sleep well. Sometimes at night I would just wake up I couldn't explain what really was happening to me, but I'm one person earlier on, even before my challenges, I never used to like taking health for granted. So anything small, I go to the doctor. So this is a time I had gone to doctors, but you know, if you don't have a specialist, each doctor will treat you how you present yourself. So when the doctor checks, there's nothing wrong, maybe they just give you drugs, go and take this, you'll feel better. So it went on, but then now I decided to see a gynecologist. Now I was zeroing into specialists. So she looked at me, we carried out the test, but there's one test she sent me to do. When I brought her the results, she just said there's a hormone in your system called prolactin. It is very high. So she gave me drugs to try and bring the hormone down, to balance the hormones. But after some time, the hormones were not also balancing. So this particular time when I went, out of the blue, she just said, you need to do a CT scan. So I went, did a CT scan. She looked at it, she said, it's not clear. So you go do an MRI. Remember, I don't have a job. By then, an MRI was 20,000. The technology was just rolling in Kenya. So the MRI, you do it twice. There's one, you go, and then there's another one, they'll inject in your system something called a contrast to be able to zero in and see clearly where the tumor is and how it's behaving. So when she sent me, I didn't have a job per se that time. So I just packed all that was going on and I continued with my life, because what do I do? So I would have crazy headaches, wake up, take painkillers, they subside. Again, when they start, on, off, over the counter, just like that. So from 2005 till 2009 is when I was able to get unemployment. Remember, those are like 4 years. So, because if I knew what I know now, I would really try to look for help. But I didn't know. And it's until I got this job now that I was able to go in for those very expensive procedures. So when I got a job, I was able to discuss with the medical team in that institution. And they told me, even if you're on probation, that's not a big deal. You can go in for these medical checkups. So I went, and we went with my husband. I was booked in for an MRI. We were able to go through. So we walked in the doctor's office with my husband. So he just looked at the films, and then he said, you have a tumor. We were shocked. We were shocked because we didn't know something we've just been hearing about was now here with us, and we didn't even know how it's going to be. You know, when you go to a doctor, sometimes you spend very few minutes with him. He finishes with you. So he gave us the drugs, and off we went to synthesize. We started Googling to try just and understand, where are we at, where are we going? So that was happening around January. So he would give me a return date. I would take the drugs religiously, but then again now, despite what I was experiencing, the drugs also had other multiple side effects. So there are just all those things happening to my body. I was so huge. Suddenly, I started having a slurred speech. I'm unable to communicate well. I have memory lapses. And now, there was also now this particular time, the tumor was also now putting the pressure on the optic nerve. I'm unable to see. So my husband had to handhold me to guide me. And I think that was one moment that was very low in my life. It was a moment when I really hit rock bottom, so to speak, because I am a human being. I'm newly married. Things are just happening and I'm there, you know. There isn't much I can do because we also didn't know so much about this illness other than depending on the Google, and sometimes Google would give you crazy answers, like if you use there's a particular drug I was using, sometimes you'd lose your mind and just go mad. So when you read such things, you're like, is it really me who will go through that? But over and above that, because I got born again when I was in Form 1, God always used to make sense, and he still does even today, that whatever I'm going through, he is so aware. It doesn't get him by surprise. And so just knowing God, that even in this matter of hell I am in, you're right there with me, it really helped me to navigate it, because it was a personal war. You know, you can never feel pain for me. So it was me to accept it and walk in it. Sometimes it was very hard for me to even sleep at night, and I'll just go to the sitting room and roll and cry to God, because there was also pain all over my body I could not explain. I couldn't explain what is happening to me, but at least God was in it. So 3 months down the line, the tumor is not shrinking. The doctor says where that tumor is, it's at the base of the brain, and I can't go in there. All I'm thinking is, we just have to sustain you on these drugs, which are giving me very bad side effects. And it is always good to have hope, because when you have hope and hope in God, sure indeed he swings in action. So what happened is, remember now from January, we are heading now June. I'm just same state. In fact, my leave, sick leave got over. I went back. My boss then just looked at how I was behaving. He sent me back home. He told me, go away till you get well. Because again, you're scared. This job, I'm going to miss it. And all that. And then God, being who he is, he sent me a miracle. A doctor came. Now, when we went to see this doctor now, it is like 5 months down the line. Nothing is happening. Even for him, he doesn't know what to do. He just said, we have visiting doctors from Spain. So what you do, you come, let's see if we can book an appointment with them, and just let's see what they have to say. And for me now, that was God. So the week they came, I really tried to see them, but I was unable. From Monday, it is still Thursday, a nurse called me because she saw how desperate I had been. Every week, I mean every day I had been going, trying to see them, and they were very busy in the theater. So this particular Thursday, she came and just tagged me along. It was lunchtime. We went inside the theater. So the theater was like somewhere here, and they would have lunch across. So he was having lunch, that particular neurosurgeon. I even don't know his name to date, and wherever he is, may God bless him. He just looked at the films and said, book her right in. So that was on Thursday. So I told the nurse I have to go back home and prepare and come. So we went to prepare in the evening, and we just took a stroll with my husband. And this time we said we will not even tell people. So we looked like we're just going to visit somebody who's unwell in the hospital, or he's taking me. But I was going in to be admitted. So I was admitted on a Thursday, and then on a Friday from 7 a.m. in the morning, they were able to carry out the surgery on me till 1 p.m. And after that, he packed his equipment and left. In fact, I'm told he flew out of Eldoret at 4 p.m. that same day. So I never got him. And so that is why I'm telling you, when you have faith and hope in God, he can move mountains. I really don't know who that doctor came for, but for me, he came for me, because if he did not come for me, maybe even I wouldn't be here. The doctor explained to me that, brain is like a porridge. So when you go in the brain, you could think you're helping, but maybe as you're touching, there's something else you're doing. And it's not out of intention. Many a times I've had people blame doctors, but you see, the doctor has your interests at heart. It's just that the construction of our brain is very sensitive. So for him, when he looked at where the tumor was, for him, he felt, this one, no. It's good to know your league, they usually say so. So for him, he felt where it is, it's at a very sensitive place. And so he had just wanted to maintain me on those bad drugs, because that's all he could afford for now. But God had a better plan for me. And that is why I just said he sent a neurosurgeon all the way from Spain to save my life. So that was miracle number 1. Miracle number 2, immediately I was able to conceive. Yes, I was able to conceive my daughter. She turned 13 in April. She's called Diamond. And I called her Diamond because of the attributes of a diamond. A diamond goes under a lot of pressure when it's being formed. A diamond is hard to break. A diamond is expensive. And a diamond is rare. And so many attributes about a diamond. So we named her Diamond. And so, first of all, when you get married, as I had said, people imagine you need to get a baby immediately. Now, sometimes sometimes you have planned for it. Sometimes you've not planned for it. But you see, every time you meet somebody, it's the word on their lips. You meet somebody, it's the word on their lips. So, societal pressure. Okay, I want to thank God for my parents and my parents-in-law. They didn't put pressure per se. But the fact that in the conversations, it pops up. Now you go like, well, is there anything wrong? But again, over time, I've come to appreciate that children are a gift from God. So whether you have them or don't have them, you don't need to be labeled, stigmatized, feel like you're not enough. And motherhood is not just, what can I say, is not biological per se. You can be a mother to many other people, even in your office, your church place, in your community. Motherhood is a role God gave a woman, because as she created a woman, she was to be a helper. But even in that helping, God put a lot of attributes for a woman. Because when they talk about helping, I happen to work in the construction industry. A woman is like a pillar, a column. A pillar carries a lot of weight, and it transmits the weight from the slab to the ground, meaning it's a very strong component of a building. And so it is with a woman. So a woman is strong. So a woman, whether she has children or not, plays a very major role in the society. And that is God-given, not what we acquire or what we learn about. That's just enhancing. But the original plan from God, a woman is a strong person in the society. But again, a woman is easily crushed, because when a woman goes through things that the society tends to really be judgmental about, a woman really feels crushed. Because for me, like the time I didn't have a child, and people kept asking me, sometimes you go for parties and people are like, oh, Atawewe, your child would be this old, and what are you doing? So, and you realize even the mistake wasn't mine per se. It's just a condition that I'm having. Sometimes when you come back and you're alone, you'd feel like, well, where did I go wrong? When actually there's nowhere I went wrong. So I just wanted to put that across, that sometimes we go through so much. You're unwell, but your family still has to run. You know, your children need to go to school. Life never stops because this woman is unwell. Life still goes on. And that is why, again, God has coded in us strength, because sometimes you're so sick, but your child comes back from school and wants you to help them with the homework. You just pull your strength and be there for them. So that is why I've even seen it with my mom. She would say she's sick. Next minute, she's in the kitchen cooking for the family. That is part of who we are. And we need to enjoy womanhood. We don't need to see like it is a punishment from God. God knew we were well able to carry it and gave us grace to carry it. And that is why He allows what we are going through us to go through, because He knows we are strong and we are well able. So those are some of the things that I went through, and sometimes they would put my self-esteem down. But I just really want to thank God for my husband, Rehoboam Vidolo. He was a real source of help, hope, and support to now. Because way back, even where each time we go and the doctors throw at us the results and what it means, he just says, it is well, it is okay, we will go through. And that alone, you know, emotional support has really made me be strong and be where I am, because when you know you're not alone, you're journeying with somebody in this tough journey that you don't know if tomorrow you will be alive, but somebody tells you we can go through it. It gives you courage and hope to even face what you're facing. Yes, so that's a bit of how it was. The diamond now, as she arrived, first of all, we had to treat her as a precious pregnancy. Precious pregnancy is a pregnancy you've been trying and it's not coming, then you get it. So you're very careful you don't lose it. I remember one day I was going to work very early in the morning, and I slipped and fell. I didn't reach the workplace. I had to run to the hospital for them to just check that all was well with me. So I treated this pregnancy very careful, knowing what it had cost, what it had cost for the baby to be there. Again, now, I've just come from, you know, not being able to get a baby, and then having those crazy moments. Then now here you're pregnant. Now as you journey this pregnancy, there's now this morning sickness. You're sick, you're not sick, blah blah. So it was like hop, step, and jump. But I just want to thank God for His grace, because again, through His grace, I was able to navigate well. God was really good. So also my employer was good then, because whenever I was unwell, I was allowed to take a rest, now that they had understood now my whole journey. So we got diamond, and then now journey now to motherhood again. So it is like all these things, because having a firstborn is not like having a secondborn. Having a firstborn, so many things are so new to you. You really don't know if you're doing it right. You really don't know if the kid is unwell or it's just a form of a cry and all that. So all along I learned, and I learned to even trust God, because at one point, a working woman, you have to leave your child and go to work. You have to entrust her to somebody else, no matter how precious she is. So just leaving her in the hands of a nanny, I'll just pray and tell God, take care of my child, because it is beyond me. Yeah, it is beyond me. And God was very faithful. And so again, just when she was turning year 1, we were able again to conceive our second child. This one we called her Jewel. So they're coming in, they look like twins, and yeah, things are happening really fast. But we enjoyed the journey, because we are stewards to our children. God has bestowed upon us that stewardship, every parent. So us, it's to just be custodians, take good care of them. When they're of age, they move to the next station, and it's God who gives us the grace to do that. Now, come 2014 actually, I start again experiencing very funny symptoms. But remember, when the doctor did his operation and left, he left. Now I didn't go back to my doctor, see, I healed. I got the baby and the babies. That's all life is going on. Wow, shock on me again. I start having the headaches. My body's behaving funny. So this time I'm wiser. I go to the doctor, they carry the tests, and then they start telling me again, the prolactin levels are on the rise. So by then we were based in Eldoret. I decided to come to Nairobi. We also checked on other specialists, but the results would basically come back the same. They would say there's nothing major they are seeing, but down deep my body, it is not behaving normal. So one thing I want to tell people is learn to listen to your body, because it is only you who can tell when you're well and when you're not well. So I went back to my doctor and I explained to him and I told him, this has been the journey, this is where we are. Even we do the MRIs, but the doctors are not seeing anything wrong with me. But by then, there was a visiting doctor from India who had established a relationship with that neurosurgeon, the Kenyan one. So out of our talk, he recommended I just go to India for a third opinion, do the test, then come back. So that is what we did. Again, it was in June. So June is because I was also, I have, my birthday is in June. So June are just crazy months for me. So we went. Our children were so small, 2 years and 3 years. We had to leave them behind with a nanny and my cousin. Again, societal pressure. People are asking, these kids are so small. How can you go away, both parents, and leave them? But I just told myself, I have to be strong for them. What's the point of me being there and I'm unwell? You know, if you're unwell as a mother, it also puts pressure on the children. So let me go. Whatever it is I'll get, at least I'll now know. Yes, I have it, but again, I'll be in a better position to take care of them. So we went. So when we arrived in India, they carried out again an MRI, and out of it, they realized that the tumor was still small but active where it was. Something the machines in Kenya were not detecting. It was something small but very, very powerful to the body system. So again, now this time they have specialized machines. So I was able to go through the procedure and some radiotherapy. Then I was released again and I came back. We were there from June till it was about 3 months. Yeah, so again, we came back and life continued. So after every 1 year, I need to do an MRI just to check that all is well. When I'm well, I go back to work and I do my work. But when I feel unwell, I ask for some days off and just take care of my health. So things went on well. That was 2015. But coming back, I realized a lot had changed in terms of work, because it's like a whole year I had not been okay, and things had really even changed in the construction industry. So in 2016, I decided to go back to college and do an engineering exam. Again, people are telling me that brain has been through so much torture. Don't go back to do engineering. But sometimes I love challenges. Sometimes I love chaos, because God thrives in chaos. And so his grace was sufficient. I was able to do a higher diploma in civil engineering, and I was able to pass with a credit. It wasn't a walk in the park, knowing engineering is tough. Yeah. But I challenged myself and I went. And going there and passing, I just give God the glory, because it was not of my own doing. And knowing the kind of studies there is, and I never relapsed, I never crashed, I never became unwell. In fact, I had to miss my exams because I had to go back to India for review in July, October. So that is when they were sitting their exams. I had to do a special because I was away during that period, to go just for review, to check if all was well, and actually all was well. Yeah, so I came back, I did my exams, I passed. So after passing, I was like, now I want the next step. The next step was, I want to change my job, which I was able to do in 2018. I finished 2017. So in 2018, I was able to change jobs now, because of the strength of the paper I had. And that reassurance again came to me, that yeah, you could have gone through so much, but you are just a diamond in the rubble. You're still a diamond, but in the rubble. Your potentials are there. It's just that they've not been realized. Yeah, so I was able to change jobs, but that was an NGO. It was short-lived, and then now I changed to my current employer. And so far, so good. However, that did not stop my health challenges. So in 2020, again now, this time I got COVID. Yeah. COVID came, and COVID was new, but I didn't know I had COVID until when now it was out in the media, how it was behaving. And then I realized, wow, I have it. But this time I work away from my family. So when they say isolation, I was just alone wherever I was. So I was able to go through it. But at one point, I was so down. I had to call my husband to take me, because now when I was alone, you can imagine sometimes even cooking and eating becomes a problem. And one of the things the body really needs is food to fight the virus and the illness. So it is very key for you to check on the food that you're eating when you're unwell. But again, if you're alone, to just get that courage to even look for the food, sometimes even the strength, you don't have it. So he took me, and in the process, I lost my dad in 2020 April. So it was also another drama there, because things had changed. People no longer came for burials. Friends were not there. So, but we finished so well. Then again, 2021 again, I got COVID. Second time, I was all alone, but I realized, despite what you're going through, because now the second time was bad, because people would even stigmatize people who had COVID. You know, now, because of the year now, and it was viral, airborne, if you just said you have COVID, people would get scared of seeing you. So I suffered a bit of stigma, but I realized you do not allow things you can't control to affect you. You can only control the things you can control. So I was able to get guidance from the doctors, and they helped me, and then I was able to pull through. So that went on well until the same 2021, towards December. Now, I started, I usually go to doctors for just checkups. It's good, so that all is well. So, and again, if all is not well, we can do early interventions. Because over time, I've realized when you take so long to see a doctor, something that would have been averted becomes catastrophic, because you're going in late, there isn't much they can do. So I had visited this particular doctor, so she did her checks. Apparently, She likes also doing the breast check using her hands, just to check if you are all okay. And she noticed something like a lump in my breast, so she sent me to a specialist. She told me, I can't handle this, but don't go back, you see a specialist. Now the specialist sent me to do a mammogram and an ultrasound. So when I brought back the results, he still felt they were not conclusive. So he told me he needs to do an incision to just pick the sample and take it for histology. At that point, I said, no. I always go for first, second, third, even fifth opinions. If they all marry, then fine. If they don't marry, then we need to look at where is what. So I went for the second doctor's opinion. Again, she said, we ran the tests. She's not seeing the tumor, but she says there's something wrong in your system. We don't know what it is. Now, when you talk about cancer, time is of essence. But again, it's good to run in the right direction. So you could be running with speed, but in the wrong direction. So because I'm still in touch with my doctors in India, I was able to send them the results, and I requested them, maybe I just come, we just do a diagnosis, because they have super good equipment. Then if I'm well, I'm well. I just want to go on with my life, because having a history, I don't want, back and forth. And now this doctor is telling me I come back after 3 months. How much will have happened? How much will I have averted? So we took a flight with my husband again, and we went. That was last year, April. So when we went through all series of tests, and all was okay. Then when we did the MRI, the doctor looked at it and he said, all was okay, but there are 2 things I'm detecting, and so I can't release you. Let's just have you checked. This time we'll elevate it to a PET scan. If all is fine, then you will fly back. But now, the results delayed a bit for about 2 to 3 days, so we had to rebook our flights. We couldn't just come. We said we'd rather have the results, and then no, all was well, than just come. So when the results came out, again, now 2 areas were able to be detected. They were able to detect I have a small tumor called meningioma at the mid of the brain. But then again, we had this lump on the right side of the thyroid. So there it was again. Yeah, so the doctors called us, they talked to us, they explained to us, they gave us what to expect, what it takes, and which is the easier way out. And so I had to do a surgery in May on the right side of my thyroid, and the procedure went on well. I got well, and I came back. In India, you get a little bit well, and then you go back home now to recover fully. So that is what usually happens. So yeah, I was able to come back again and just start that healing journey a day at a time, and so far so good. I just thank God, because sometimes I depend on drugs, sometimes I don't, but I pull on a day at a time. So when people ask me, how well are you? I say, I'm okay, I'm well. But just when I going to settle in, something else again comes. So this year now, in the month of March, I was all well doing my usual duties, but that particular week I started feeling that I'm so weak, I'm unable to do things very fast, I'm unable to take long walks. So a particular Friday again, when I was sleeping now, I started experiencing a lot of pain on my left side, heart side. And if I turn then the pain becomes severe. So in the morning I went to hospital. They took some tests, they looked at me, and then they told me there's something amiss with your heart, but we don't know what it is again. So I have a group of doctors who manage me. So I went. So we did a lot of tests, including echo. And then when the results came out, they said you're having some problems with your left ventricle. And so we had to run again so many other tests to try and see what is putting pressure on the heart. And they were unable to really get what it is. So we left it at that. And I told myself, I'll only do the things I can control. The things I can't control, if I carry them for now, they'll even break you. Because if you worry about things you can't control, they'll even kill you than the life-threatening illness that you're having. So far, that is where I am. I'm on management, I'm on drugs, and I'm doing all that is needed to be done. But I'm enjoying life and I'm enjoying the journey because it is a day at a time. A day at a time. In 2015, my turnaround moment, when we arrived in India, we found people there. We had doctors, we had engineers, we had people from the army, all converging in India for the sake of health. And then I realized there's much more to life. It's not about the things we amass. I'm in construction industry, and if you see the things people are chasing to have, big houses, big vehicles, and just to think you can only be in one house at a time. You can only sleep in one house at a moment. You can only drive one car. You can only have one phone. But you can never have another health. That in itself is humbling. So that became my turnaround moment because I realized there are even others whom we were with there and they passed on. They never made it. So I realized you can even have the best doctor on the table doing surgery for you, but you may never make it. And as who made it, it's not that we were so special before God. It's just that our assignment on earth was not yet over. And probably that is why he's been giving me that one more chance, because and it's never over with him until it's over. So I also want to speak to somebody struggling with your health, that so long as you're alive, you have that pulse on, it means God has a reason for it. You may be going through a very painful moment, but just appreciate and be grateful that you're alive. So for me, health is like the real nerve center. You can have millions, but you can never enjoy them if you're not healthy. You can really want to do so much. You can be so ambitious, but you may never see the light of the day if you're not in good health. So health is very key in one's life. And sometimes, again, just learn to do these small things the doctors tell us. Don't wait until the doctor tells you, don't take sugar. Take that walk. Check on that diet, because sometimes it can be too late. So I'm an agent of telling people, just check on your health, because there are things you can control. Please control them. Then now, leave those you can't control out for the people who control them to try and help you manage them. So health is very key. You can imagine, just like this last episode for this year has really hit hard on me, because of course I've been trying my diet, but this one, in fact, I'm going for my next visit next week. I said, if it is food, I am in control. I will look at it. If it is sugar, I am leaving. Being intentional about it. I've also had people say what you're saying, and when they've become sick, it has been a really sad state of affairs. And one thing, they'll die with guilt because they drove themselves in it. Because God has given us a power to make choices. But unfortunately, when you make a wrong choice, a principle is a principle. The consequences will follow. So when those people are so sick, and just to imagine they had the power to reverse what it is, it becomes too late. Statistically, they're saying 7 out of 10 people are dying worldwide because of chronic illnesses. And when you narrow it down, 70% is caused by the foods that we eat. So how much more can we reverse that if we eat right? You know? How much more? Because again, when you take medicine, medicine is medicine, but medicine is not good for the body because even the doctors will tell you. That is why we have side effects. The medicine you're taking, it's going to counter something else in your body. But I believe God created us for our bodies to thrive without even having those elements to assist the body to act well. But unfortunately, it's very easy for us to violate those simple principles because we just feel we want to enjoy life. But in real sense, we are destroying our own lives. That is the bottom line. Yeah, so many researches have been done and that is it. And then there is something about diet needed to healing. But you see, when the time you are with the doctor is a very short time for him to even take you through that, or sometimes he doesn't know. So, but you have a choice to make what you want to eat for your body. Especially men with meat. Men with nyama choma, that is a high voltage. We won't touch that. However, just make right choices for yourself, because another thing I've realized, health is very expensive. I'm blessed to have been supported for my treatment, but still I had to rely on help from people. A sickness like cancer, even if you're to sell land, unfortunately sometimes you have to lose a loved one, plus the property and money. So just looking at the consequences of some of these illnesses, if we had power to, they say prevention is better than cure, to prevent, then why don't you do a right choice to prevent that, other than waiting until it is too late? Because now, when you don't have the money, there's no treatment you will get. So that is the scenario with health. It's just crazy. We really don't know. We also have people who have been super careful. And unfortunately, they got it. And unfortunately, some died. And unfortunately, some are fighting. So it's a mystery we are yet to unveil. That one, it's a mystery we are yet to unveil. I have had 3 life-threatening surgeries. And the moment the doctor says, prepare her for the surgery, you know, there are just 2 things. You're either coming out alive or you're going. So I usually make a prayer to God that if I come out alive, you still need me and there's more work for me. And if this is time to come home, so be it. Because you can even have the best doctor. A slight mistake, everything can go haywire. You know, you can never have life and say this is my own per se, because any surgery, however small it is life-threatening. So there are those real moments I've had to just converse with God, for even him to give me the grace, and then surgeries are very painful. Even the healing process, it's not walk in, walk out. Yeah, I am. No, it's not. But I've always had to converse with God and just rely on his grace and help to take me through. Then again, you know, you need to trust God to help him for the doctors to make right judgment on you. Because many a times I've had to see so many doctors. A doctor could make a judgment. He thought he could be right, but he could be wrong. So I really have had to rely, I've always had to rely on God to just help the doctor so that they handle with that which is right on me. Like a case in scenario, the doctor from Spain, God just sent him for me. Because if I would have insisted with the doctors from Kenya, probably they would have done it, but they would not have gotten the solution for my life. And so those are there are those moments, even for you, you feel scared. So scared, but again, I've had to face it through, and thank God I'm alive. So it means there's more work for me. Part of the work is here. What I'm doing here. I've authored a book, The Diamond Underneath, Resilience in Time of Crisis, inspired by real life events. This is my authentic life. I've only shared not even a quarter of what it is that I've been through. So if you're in need of this book, you can call me. My number is 0722 462321. 0722 462321. You can get this book on Amazon. You can get it on Nuria. You can get it on CLC. I'm also a co-founder of Spectre Talk Ventures, a ministry that is involved in mentorship for girls in schools. I also coach women. I'm a life coach, and I also coach women who are going through life-threatening illness to have hope, be resilient, and go through whatever they are going through. I have so many caps. I'm also working as a civil engineer in one of the parastatals. I also build houses. I also build huts. I'm a co-founder of the Maturity Center, a spiritual ministry that we minister with my husband. So if you'd like to get in touch with me, Margaret Abukutsa on Facebook, Margaret Abukutsa on LinkedIn, Margaret Abukutsa on Instagram, and Margaret Abukutsa on Twitter. Let's keep these conversations going. And I'll be having a free webinar where we are going to talk about the role of foods in life-threatening illnesses on 2nd of June. It will be an online webinar and it will be free. Check on my Facebook details for you to register so that you'll be able to get the link. Thank you.